All right. Hello guys. Hello. Welcome to Thursday stream. Hopefully everyone's doing all right. My apologies about the late stream. I had to take a very important phone call. It's regarding my grandmother, my dear grandmother. So hopefully everyone has been having a great night so far as well. All right, so let's get into it. So let's jump right in. I don't want to beat around the bush here. Let's jump right into the topic of tonight's stream. So as stated in the description box down below, the question that now needs to be answered is, do we get new all-time highs with this new rally / uptrend on SPY and QQQ? So just the overall broader market indexes or indices, right? So that's what we're trying to find out tonight, all right? And we're gonna just base this all off on technical analysis, okay? Because this is what's working right now, and this is what will work for the next couple of weeks into the next couple of months. All right, that's just from my prediction of what I've already seen so far and analyzed. So I'm going to translate that over to you guys and transfer that over to you guys as well, and kind of give you guys my own insight as to how I am facing that question and how I am answering that on my own personal analysis and prediction as well. Okay, so first of all, let's take a look at overnight futures. All right, so if you take a look at ES or the mini futures for the S&P 500, we had some news overnight, right? We had some China news for the trade, for some trade talks, right? Now I'm not gonna get too deep into that. You guys can read that on your own. Again, that's just another catalyst. It is what it is now. The market's basically not caring what's happening with the trade war anymore, unless it's a positive news, right? Well, even if it's negative, the markets have been completely ignoring that as well. So that's great news, right? The market's saying, you know what? At this point, this is just ridiculous, right? And so we're not going to be focusing on it anymore, whether it be negative or positive. But when it becomes a positive news that comes in, that's where things can get very important, right? And the markets decide to react to the upside. Because again, what have we been doing for the past, let's see, 7 days now? Moving up, right? So I guess, wait a second now. Yeah, so it's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, 7 days, right? Or I guess you could say 8 days too if you start from the fact that where we officially closed over the daily 10 SMA on the futures time frame here, right? The futures ticker here. So based on that, okay, if you go back to SPY, right? So SPY is now back to, I believe, 563, like right underneath 564 after hours or overnight trading hours right now. I believe so. Let me see. Yeah, so it should be around, oh no, sorry. It's right underneath 563 is what I meant, right? So I think it's around 562.90 or 80 or whatever, wherever it was last time I saw it, right? So, you know, this is basically the volatility that we're seeing overnight now from a more positive perspective with the news coming out with trade talks, right? So, you know, this uptrend should continue, right? So this is my interpretation of this, right? So we should be seeing a continued uptrend. Why? Well, first of all, as I've said on Tuesday stream and last week's streams, right? We should be seeing an intermittent bounce that should continue into a rally, and ultimately, from the longer term perspective, we can continue for that broader downtrend. All right, we can look for a pivot at a huge supply area or resistance level and restart that broader downtrend back to the downside and possibly even retest April's lows. Okay, so that has been my stance so far. So again, since we're now taking this, well, we should be taking it, and you guys should be taking it day by day and week by week, you guys should understand that we are looking at this at a current uptrend, right? We're at an uptrend, right? It's a nice higher high and higher low uptrend. And so with that in mind, right, you know, as I've stated on Tuesday's stream as well, we're looking at this 570 to 575 supply area as a potential contender for that major rejection back to the downside to give us that continued broader long-term move to the downside, right? So that could still definitely be a possibility because again, we have yet to see an actual retest of this huge supply area from 570 to 575, right? And even then, this entire range that I've outlined on Tuesday night as well, from 550 to 575 is also a big range, right? It's a huge supply area too. And right now we're absorbing that supply, so once we get to that upper range or extended range of 575 or supply area from 570 to 575, that's where things will get very interesting because we will have to see if we are trying to get past this previous pivot high point at the supply level or area right at 576.41. Okay, so that's the reason why I think this could be a huge spot for us to reject if there's any type of, maybe there might be coinciding news that could potentially affect the markets yet again, right? But for now, the markets have continued to forget about the news, especially negative news on the tariff and trade war front, and has continued to react a little bit more positively to any type of slightly positive to positive news regarding that topic, right? So now here is it's kind of interesting to me as well, because what if we decide to, again, first of all, right, on technical perspective, we've broken above the daily 50 SMA and we closed above it, although, you know, we closed a little bearishly, right, with a nice inverted hammer candlestick, right? But again, after hours has completely reversed that price action already overnight as we got that China trade news. So you know, at this point in time, if we were to continue to uphold this daily 50 SMA for the next couple of weeks, particularly into May's OPEX date, right, which is on May 16th, there's a good chance that we can actually retest this 575 level into that May OPEX of or May 16th, right, which is the official date, and also heading into the next FOMC meeting for the month of May. Okay, and so there's a lot of huge events that are going to occur in the middle of quarter 2 month, this new month of May. And again, first of all, from a technical perspective, I love the fact that we had a nice gap up on the very first trading day of May, and we ended up closing above the daily 50 SMA, and which, well, if you were to stick around this daily 50 SMA and continue to consolidate around it, that will allow the daily 10 and the daily 21 SMAs to finally catch up to their price, which it will eventually if we decide to consolidate around this daily 50 SMA and kind of just chop around, you know, breaking below it, slightly below it, and breaking back up above it. And that constant oscillation will provide enough sideways action to allow, well, sideways time and action to allow the daily 10 and the daily 21 SMAs to continue to curl up higher to catch up to the price. Okay, so that's kind of the exact ideal scenario that I have in my head that I want to transfer on to you guys. So with that being said, right, with this retest of this daily 50 SMA and now a close over it also gives us that opportunity for the price to decide to just go immediately straight up to retest the daily 200 SMA. Right, so if you continue to get really good positive trade news and just overall quote-unquote relief from these tariffs, which again we have yet to see, if you guys haven't been paying attention to the ports across the US, right, they're empty, right? We're not seeing ships coming in and emptying their containers, right? So this is where you have to start thinking in the longer macro, broader term or broader perspective, right? Because even if we do decide to snap right back over to retest the daily 200 SMA, which is now currently in between the supply area of 570 to 575, you have to realize that there's still a lot of macro headwinds that we need to consider if we decide to come back to this area, right? And which I believe we will, right, before May 16th or the May OPEX date, and obviously before the FOMC meeting as well. So regarding now, with that being said, regarding the question for tonight, right, can we achieve new all-time highs? Well, here's the thing, right? New all-time highs is now not that far away, right? We've gone way above that 50% retracement from the lows and obviously from the highs here, right? So if you go back down, right, to where we closed today from all-time highs, we've essentially are now down 9%, right? So that is now below the well, not below, but right in between the textbook percentage range for a textbook correction, right? Because again, a textbook correction ranges from 5% to 10%. So judging by how we've been reacting so far overnight, and just judging by the overall intermittent rally and bottom that we've been seeing so far occurring, there's a good chance that we can continue to claw back up higher with some sideways in the middle, right? Maybe we might be seeing some sideways next week, which is a full trading week for the official month of May here, and we might be finding some good opportunities to have a potential dip buy. If you haven't been long with us so far at April's lows, you might have an opportunity to long on a potential sideways action or maybe a smaller dip next week for a full trading week of May, the first full trading week of May. Who knows, right? So now, obviously, right? So here's where things can get a little bit tricky, because if you're trying to look for a new all-time highs at this point in time of the stock market, you're probably kind of assuming things at this point, right? You're really just hoping that it could go up to all-time highs or make new all-time highs. So, you know, I wouldn't be also surprised if we do see some sort of a V-shaped recovery at this point if we continue to see positive news from the trade war. But again, the effects of the tariffs are already being felt across the entire nation and across global free markets, right? So right now it's a gentle balancing act that we need to do amongst ourselves when we're trying to figure out where we will be seeing a potential rejection, or where will we potentially be seeing a continued move to the upside where we can potentially retest the current all-time high area, or even make that conjecture that maybe we could be seeing a new all-time high later in the next couple of weeks or in the next couple of months, right? Or maybe even before quarter 3 begins, right? So, you know, I just don't want to make sure. I just want to make sure that you guys understand where I'm coming from here with this answer, right? Because we need to be very nuanced right now because of the fact that we're in such a messy macro environment, right? But again, it's not out of well, you're not completely out of control in your own head if you think that the market can retest all-time highs, or at least retest the current all-time highs. Because hey, I would love to see that too, right? I hopefully we can see that in the next couple of weeks to finally just get rid of the entire mess that we saw from the market and the economy, and that can also, if we did do that, to come back to retest the all-time high area around, you know, even if we just came back up to retest 600, that's great. Right, that's amazing. And why is that amazing? Well, because we practically retraced the entire market downturn, right? And the markets are saying that maybe these tariffs are finally going to be short-lived and Trump will cave in, or there will be these supposed great trade deals, which I don't believe in, because again, we've seen these potential trade deals occurring in the first term of President Trump. Again, this is just looking back at history, right? And Trump basically just either gives this exact same trade deal that we've already had before. For example, I've talked about this already in the previous streams a couple months ago or a couple weeks ago, I think, that when he said that NAFTA was a bad trade deal, and he just redrew up a new trade deal that was slightly different, which basically didn't change anything from the NAFTA trade agreement between the US, Canada, and Mexico. So again, maybe we might just see that. We might be just seeing a change of the names of the supposedly new trade agreements that we're looking to make, especially with countries like China, right, and the European Union, so, or Mexico or Canada, right? So, you know, this is one of those things where the market might be saying that, hey, we kind of learned finally that this is kind of a replay of your first term, right, from Trump. And so we might just have to just completely ignore it and decide to continue to move up higher and just vote that nothing will happen, and we will be right back to all-time highs for the overall markets, and the economy will have a very, very swift and quick recovery from this debacle that has occurred, right? So this is something that, again, you can't be expecting a straightforward answer from me or from anyone else, because if someone's trying to give you a straightforward answer thinking that they know exactly what's going to happen, that's utter bullshit, right? That's BS, right? Because that's impossible at this macro environment. You don't know what's going to come out of this current administration or regarding this tariff, this crazy tariff environment or trade environment, right? So, it just doesn't make sense from a technical perspective to say that, hey, we're definitely going to go back to 600, or at least retest the all-time high level of 611, this new all-time high level, or current all-time high resistance level sitting at $611, right? Because again, we don't know what's going to happen, right? But at the very least, we can take it step by step, day by day, week by week, and understand where significant levels need to be taken attention of, right? We need to be focusing on them, like 565, like we saw this week so far, 570 and 575, right? So again, guys, I just want to do a very quick stream tonight and just give you guys this answer to this question that people are now actually wondering about now, since kind of the overall market fear has subsided, even though retail investors and institutional investors are both still very much hanging back, being bearish, overtly bearish, and not really using their cash to put back onto risk on assets. Okay, so again, to me, that just sounds like sentiment is being, again, a contrarian signal for me. It has been since the April lows here. For all of us here at Charts Focus 1, that's the reason why we've been dollar cost averaging and focusing on dip buying on some very quality names. If you haven't done that, well, you're kind of late at this point, but again, who knows, right? Because we can still come back to hit that major level of 575, or that supply area from 570 to 575, which will also align with and coincide with the daily 200 SMA. So again, we gotta play this week by week, day by day, and based on what the headlines are saying as well, unfortunately, right? Even though we have basically desensitized and decoupled from headlines, even though right now positive news will matter most, even if we're still reacting positively to any type of negative headline, because again, the markets have decoupled from such headline news, right? So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it, guys. I expect the markets to basically move sideways, like I stated earlier. That's one thing that you guys should be prepared for. Always hedge your longs at this point in time, as we have recovered very, very well, very, very quickly at that as well in just 1 month. I guess under a month actually. And we've come back to a major SMA area, this daily 50 SMA, which has just shown us this death cross in the middle of April, which again, I explained to you guys that death crosses, and well, I explained to my readers in the CFO Swing and Watch report that these death crosses are usually late, right? They're usually not a good signal of a potential continued downtrend. But again, everything is nuanced. It's not black and white, right? It's not positive or negative exactly to a point, right? For each side. You guys have to understand that, we can still move to the downside depending on what happens in the short to mid to long-term futures. Right, you have 3 different possibilities here and probabilities, depending on what time frame you're looking at and depending on where you are biased and how much you're biased in that perspective. Okay, so again, this is a tricky environment, but as long as you're following the trend, which is now currently an uptrend, you guys should be good to go. And again, just for the next couple of trading days or the next couple of weeks, maybe a week and a half or so, I'm going to expect the price to consistently stick around this daily 50 SMA and just move around and kind of just oscillate back and forth breaking below the daily and coming back above to retake the 50, back and forth, on and off again, right? Up and down, and eventually allowing the daily 10 SMA to catch up to the price. And that will also allow this flatlining daily 21 SMA to finally start to curl up higher to catch up to the price, right? So once we start to see both of the daily 10 and daily 21 SMAs curling up higher, since again the daily 10 is the only one that's doing that now, since it is a shorter SMA compared to the 21, that will give us a stronger uptrend and stronger support from my short-term momentum SMAs, the daily 10 and daily 21 SMAs, as the prices continue to restart their uptrend higher. And this will only happen if we ideally constructively move sideways in between this SMA, this 50 SMA area. Does that make sense? Okay, I see your guys' reactions there. All right, okay. So hopefully, that'll be helpful for the next couple of weeks. I know my guidance and navigation can be very helpful to some and to many, I guess. Just depending on, I'm just going off of what people have said so far. I've been doing this for, specifically Charts Focus 1 for about 4 years now. So this channel's anniversary was about 2 days ago. So 4-year anniversary. So this is very, very amazing journey that I've been on here with you guys, and hopefully you guys have been able to really improve your trading journeys and just your investing journeys as well, and get a better grasp and grip on what the markets are doing and how they move day by day, week by week, and month by month. And obviously, if you guys want to be guided by me every single week, make sure you guys check out the CFO Swing and Watch report down below in the description box. You guys should be able to find the link right there, and you guys will be able to choose whatever tier you guys want to do and become a reader, right? And once you guys become a reader of the CFO Swing and Watch report, you guys will become an official private member of the private CFO Discord channel. All right, so have a great rest of your night and good luck tomorrow. I'll see you guys next week on Tuesday at the same time at 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time or 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Good night, everyone.